Euzubillahimineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi şrah li sadri ve yessir li emri ve ahlul ukdeten min lisani yefkahu kavli. Selamünaleyküm ve rahmetullahi ve berekatuhu. Oh, we are not using books. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, we don't have we're not studying from the words. We will study from the letters. So if you have phone app, if you don't have the phone app, ask Yusuf. This is the first letter. Easy. First letter, fourth question. First letter, fourth question from the works letters. Again, if you don't have the app, please ask Brother Yusuf, and he will accompany you to the outside.
It's in the WhatsApp description.
It's in the WhatsApp description of the group. Okay, let's start, inshallah, by finding a volunteer, who is the closest to me. Would you like to read, Atik?
I have to put the link.
Oh, okay. Who wants to read? Okay, Zerin. She was making the most anxious facial expressions, hoping that I will not ask her.
Well, that's not the first
Thank
called
you.
reverse psychology.
Oh, you really want to read?
Assalamu alaikum. So we're reading from first question,
Oh, no. The first letter, fourth question.
fourth question. Okay. Okay.
Page 25.
Is it page something? It's the first letter, fourth question.
Yes.
Okay. All
actually.
right. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Fourth question. Passing love for things can be transformed into true love. So can the passing love most people have for this world also be transformed into true love? The answer, yes. If a person who loves with passing love the transitory face of the world sees the ugliness of the decline and transience on that face and turns away from it, if he searches for an immortal beloved and is successful in seeing the world's other two beautiful faces, of being a mirror to the divine names and the tillage of the hereafter, his illicit passing love then starts to be transformed into true love, but on the one condition that he does not confuse with the outside world his inner, fleeting, unstable world which is bound to his life. If, like the people of misguidance and heedlessness, he forgets himself, plunges into the outside world, and supposing the general world to be his private world, comes to love it, he will fall into the swamp of nature and drown, unless extraordinarily a hand of favor saves him. Consider the following comparison which will illuminate this truth. For example, if on the four walls of this finely decorated room are four full-length mirrors belonging to the four of us, then there would be 5 rooms. One would be actual and general, and four similitudes and personal. Each of us would be able to change the shape, form, and color of his personal room by means of his mirror. If we were to paint it red, it would appear red. If we were to paint it green, it would appear green. Likewise, we could alter it by adjusting the mirror. We could make it ugly or beautiful or give it different forms. But we could not easily adjust and change the outer general room. While in reality the general and personal rooms are the same, in practice they are different. You could destroy your own room with one finger, but you could not make one stone of the other stir. Thus, this world is a decorated house. The life of each of us is a full-length mirror. Each of us has a world from this world, but its support, center, and door is our life. Indeed, that personal world of ours is a page and our life is a pen. Many things that are written with it pass to the page of our actions. We love our world, but later see that since it is constructed on our life, like it is fleeting, transitory, and unstable. We perceive and understand this, and our love for it is redirected to the beautiful impresses of the divine names to which our personal world is the mirror and which it reflects. It switches from our world to the manifestations of the names. Moreover, if we are aware that that personal world of ours is a temporary seedbed of the hereafter and paradise, and if we direct our feelings for it like intense desire, love, and greed towards the benefits of the hereafter, which are its results, fruits, and shoots, then that passing love is transformed into true love. Otherwise, manifesting the meaning of the verse, those who forget God, and he made them forget their own souls. Such are the rebellious transgressors. From Surah 59, Ayat 19. A person will forget himself, not think of life's fleeting nature, suppose his personal, unstable world to be constant like the general world, and imagine himself to be undying. He will fix himself on the world and embrace it with intense emotions. He will drown in it and depart. Such love will be boundless torment and tribulation for him. For an orphan-like compassion, a despairing softness of heart will be born of that love. He will pity all living beings. Indeed, he will feel sympathy for all beautiful creatures which suffer decline and the pain of separation, but he will be able to do nothing. He will suffer in absolute despair. However, the first man, who is saved from heedlessness, finds an elevated antidote for the pain of that intense compassion. For in the death and decline of all the living beings he pities, he sees that the mirrors of their spirits are immortal, for in them are depicted the perpetual manifestations of the enduring names of an ever-enduring one. His compassion is transformed into joy. He also sees behind all beautiful creatures, which are subject to death and transience, an impress, a making beautiful, an art, adornment, bestowal, and illuminating that are permanent and that make perceived a transcendent beauty, a sacred loveliness. He sees the death and transience to be renewal, the purpose of which is to increase the beauty, refresh the pleasure, and exhibit the art, and this augments his pleasure, his ardor, and his wonder. The Eternal One, he is the Eternal One.
Okay, any initial comments? Let's start with the question. Who wants to like expand maybe a little bit, explain the question? Because it's important that we get the question right. It's a very short one. So who wants to elaborate it a little bit? Maybe Ati? Oh, okay.
I don't think I could. From what I understand, he's saying that there are two different types of love, which is the passing love and then the true love. And so I think in the question, I'll just read the question first once to remember what he was saying. So he says passing or Mejazi. Love for things can be transformed into true love. So can the passing love most people have for this world also be transformed into true love? So he's saying there's two different types of love, passing and true love. And he's saying that passing love is for the world. And I guess I would assume that means, the world is transient, it's temporary. We love things like, I don't know, maybe we love the flowers of spring and then they die. And then in winter, they're dead, right? So we love the things that we love are brief and momentary and temporary, but the true love is permanent. And so how can we, I don't know, have like a permanent sort of love? That's what I understand, you know. The things that we love are temporary, and that might cause us pain. Something like that.
Good, Jazakallah. Any other thing you want to add, Zaha? Sure. I see. I thought you were trying to escape from person? Microphone, please.
Sorry, I think my understanding of the question was a bit different. My understanding was that a person basically all these passing things, there comes a time that person falls into love with them and considers them as true love. So they start loving these worldly things more as opposed to what they should be loving. Like, for instance, we should love the fact that we should love our creator, but we forget those things and we are craving for these passing things, which is worldly things, which could be money, which could be life, which could be even our loved ones. So basically, that's what I understood was.
So yeah, and what is the question from this perspective?
So the question I feel like is that can the passing things, these worldly things, be transformed into actual thing that you should love?
Okay. Okay, Jazakallah. Anyone else? Oh, Tarasu? Everybody is pointing to you. You should you should be careful with your friends. No, seriously, at least 2-3 fingers I saw. uh maybe I can add one thing from other parts. Author in words at the very end of the words is studying this passing love and also true love, and he's studying the the meaning of our love towards, let's say, our parents, our the wife, husband, our children, our parents, our job, whatever, all this love. And he's trying to understand what is the true meaning behind them, how they should be oriented, and so on. And then he explains how these passing laws are actually a kind of a manifestation of the true love, and we should use them to reach the true love. So we shouldn't, let's say, love our friends, especially the ones betraying us by pointing fingers. We shouldn't love our friends for the sake of themselves, but for the sake of their creator, and so on. So here, my understanding, author is saying that, like they're narrating a question. So when I say something like that, you shouldn't love, the people around you, or even your parents and so on, for the sake of themselves. Atik would come and say that, oh, but Birkan, that's true. I understand it. And I can apply it to this world as well. It's not that, I love my car. But through my car, I love my creator. Through my, work, I love my creator. So don't you think I can also, by loving all these worldly things, can this love as well be transformed into true love? If my love towards my mother can be transformed into true love of my creator, how about my work? How about my, other things, everything in this worldly life? Can they be transformed into a true love as well? that's how I understand. It's like somebody is trying to justify her love for worldly things and saying that maybe it can be transformed into true love. Isn't it possible? An author says, yes, this is true, it is possible, but when this aşk mecazi, aşk hakiki comes, this reminds me of the big literature, like Asian Muslim literature, where this Layla and Majnun, you heard about the story. So I guess this is the first thing that comes to my mind when it talks about this metaphorical love or passing love. Because what that story says is this Majnun guy falls in love with Layla and then realizes that Layla is not the actual subject worthy of this love. Long story short, eventually that love converts into love of God. So if this happens for such things, could it be that we are loving the world itself? Like this is our actual love, Layla. So can the same thing happen there? I guess this is, thank you for sharing your love story. Any comments now about the answer? What remained with you from the answer part? Gentlemen? Nothing? Fahim pretends like he's not even here. His voice stay so, steady. Okay, Zarin, who has the microphone, please?
So I guess one thing that stayed with me was this example of the house or I guess the room. So if there's like a room with the 4 mirrors, and we're looking, and if each of our lives is the mirror, then we're essentially kind of looking at the room, but through a mirror. But the room itself is a separate reality from those mirrors, and it's the actual room. So whatever we do to the mirror can't change the room. So it talks about like changing the like qualities of the mirror to make the room appear different, perhaps. And I kind of for me, I kind of tried to think of it as like if you apply a filter to your phone, that changes like how you look or how the world around you looks. So I guess I was kind of taking it as like we tend to, I guess, apply like filters to the way we see the world in a way that doesn't reflect the truth. And so I guess the answer to me kind of seems like we can't get rid of the mirror, but because that's supposed to be our life. But perhaps we should try to not focus on changing the mirror so much, so that it is actually reflecting like the true room instead of like making it appear to be something that it's not.
Jazakallah khairan. Please.
I guess I had a question. So how do you exactly know that? I mean, I guess kind of his question of like, when are you like having a love that you think is maybe not necessarily like you think it's the correct form of love? But under some of his definition, it seems like maybe you're kind of off in the way he interprets love, I guess. And is it like harder to also tell, right? Because like if you love your mother, I think you gave an example of a mother, for example, most would be people will be like, what's wrong with that? Like I have to love my mother. So how do you kind of differentiate that versus like what is the correct form of loving your mother, for example?
Alhamdulillah. And I think this is the very core of the topic. So thank you. Any other comments, initial comments, questions? When adults don't speak, these kids have to fill the gap. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Ali. Please,
So the condition that he puts forth um is that we don't confuse the outside world with our inner fleeting unstable world, which is bound to our life. So the example that he gave is essentially separating these two worlds, right? So when we say I can get to true love or get to my creator, see read his names and all the things that I have in my life, I should not confuse that the life that I have or the view that I have of my life is the kind of like the general room. We fail to see that this is just one way of, or this is our personal mirror to, like how Zareen was explaining. So that if that's the condition, then I guess piggybacking off of Doratu's question, when do we know that what we have, the mirror that we have, or the view that we have of the outside world is not clashing with the view we have of our own world? I'm not sure if that made sense, but essentially we have to see that these are separate and not fall in love with our own personal like world, mistaking it to be the same as the general world, I guess. But then how do we know that?
Alhamdulillah.
What's the guidance we have on navigating that?
Any other questions that we want to add to the list? You have a question?
So how is that related to the verse? Because it looks like he is talking about the interpretation of those who forget God. And God, made them forget their own souls. Such are the rebellious transgressors. So what does it mean to forget God? What does it mean to then forget self?
نسوا الله فأنسهم أنفسهم. Any other questions, comments?
And by love, I am feeling like what is meant here is attachment. Is there a direct relationship between the two?
Between what are the two?
Relationship and love. Like, what is love really? What I love something. But what does so what does that really mean? Because like, can you love something without getting attached to it? What is the outcome of love? Because since it's with the romanticization of Hollywood and whatnot, it seems something up in the sky. But what is really love? Because it looks like a immediate outcome of love is attachment, affliction, and attachment. So, because practically this is what matters for us right now. So the attachment part.
So that was more like a comment explanation, I say. You can keep it. I mean, it has to stay somewhere, right? Okay, we can start maybe. So let's leave the mirror room example, the second part maybe. First, maybe we can start from the question from there are two, which is what is the correct way of loving anything? Let it be your mom or your phone. And maybe we can start from there. So the first paragraph, let me read it again. Yes, if a person who loves the passing love, who loves with passing love the transitory face of the world, sees the ugliness of the decline and transience on that face, and turns away from it. So he's talking about one face, which is transient and ugly. Or we can say it, which is transient, hence ugly. If he searches for an immortal beloved and is successful in seeing the world's other two beautiful faces of being a mirror to the divine names and the tillage of the hereafter. Divine names and hereafter, these are the two faces. His illicit passing love then starts to be transformed into true love, but on the condition that he does not confuse with the outside world his inner fleeting, unstable one. So the first part, does it sound any familiar? It's three faces, right? That we've been studying last 2 weeks. World has world has three faces. One is looking at the divine names. The other is looking at the hereafter. And the third one is the ugly one, which is the transient, declining face. And author is saying, to my understanding, is if you are loving this transient declining phase, then your love is bound to give you, the torment, the torture. If you are instead loving the other two faces, which is looking at the divine names or hereafter, then this is a true love, he says. But this is like a conclusion, right? We cannot just memorize this and say that, okay, I understood. So my recommendation is, let's try to better understand this, what it means, like a word face looking at the divine names. Maybe we should study this a little bit, because last 2 weeks we've been studying these three faces, but we haven't actually, elaborate on that, the one of the word faces looking at the divine names. What do we understand from there? Word faces looking at the divine names. Or online participants, you can also join. You don't even have to raise your hand. Any comments? Or the question, okay, what do you understand when author says one face of the world looks at the divine names? Okay, author says world has three faces. One face looks at the divine names, he says. What does he mean with this? Looking at divine names, like a one face of the world looking at the divine names. Oh, Suhail, please.
At least what it means to me is that that things have an aspect to them that point to their maker, specifically a certain quality of their maker. So if I look at um, like a painting, I can see certain qualities, like the author knows what paint to use, how to give it shape, what color to use, is aware of these things through the painting itself. So names, I guess, can just be synonymous with qualities. Like looking at a painting, I can refer to a painter. So I guess that's one name. Or like a fashioner or something of that sort. Like if I look at a statue. So there's some sort of immaterial aspect to physical objects which look beyond themselves, which look towards who or the one, a one that makes them, specifically how that one makes. So it's not just that I know it must be made, that and it looks to a maker, but who that maker is, like defining it, giving me a way to understand who that maker is, because I don't see the maker in the thing itself. It's beyond the thing. So it's like an imprint, a stamp.
Jazakallah khairan. Uh, so I have a chair in front of me. So when I look at this chair, for instance, there's one face, which is the physical reality, right? I say it is soft, it's comfortable, or it's, I don't know, colorful and so on. There's one face which looks at the chair itself. And as Suhail said, there's another face of this chair which looks at its maker. Right? When I look at it, I say, okay, whoever designed it must be thinking about, certain utilities, like it should be lightweight and so on. So the maker has an understanding of, let's say, human body. The maker knows human body, I say. Maker knows, how things are transported because it's not heavy. But maker didn't have a taste of, the art, I say. It's just a regular chair, right? It doesn't have any, let's say, quality, as Suhail saying, that reminds me any artful, thing there. So I say its maker, yeah, he's knowledgeable, but doesn't have a taste of, let's say, art. So all these things there actually, right? And maybe not physically, but when I look at it, I see them. So there are these names of the maker manifested there. Or if I look at these computers, I mean, nowadays the distinction between, let's say, the Apple products and the others are blurry nowadays. It's not that obvious. But before, maybe a decade ago, when you look at them, you would say, okay, if you take another laptop, you would say, okay, it is designed by an engineer, you would say. But when you look at an Apple product, you would look and say that, okay, the maker has this engineering quality, but he also knows about the humanities. That's by looking at the product. So from the artwork, you know the artist. You know the certain qualities of the artist. So these, as far as I understand, is what author means. The face of the world, earth or world, looks at the divine names. Meaning when you look at it and ask the question, who can make this? Who made it? Then you will start seeing all these qualities manifested there. And the quality is not about the object itself, but its maker. So I look at Yusuf, right? And when I interact with him, I have this sense of wisdom. And I say, whoever created this thing in front of me must be the wise one, because this wisdom is emanating from there. Whoever created this object must have a taste of art. I mean, look at the way, the eyes are placed in the face. Whoever created this thing must be knowing about me as well, and all other, the creation, because he perfectly fits into rest of the creation. So I know about his maker by looking at him, the artwork and the artist. And there's also, like, we can come this part maybe later, but between these two faces, the transient one, which looks at the Yusuf it's himself, the first face, and the second face, which looks at the maker, sometimes I see some contradictions, not contradictions, but contrast, let's say. So Yusuf is a fleeting object, changing constantly. One day here, another day not there, right? But behind this constantly changing reality, I see that the whoever creating this thing must be everlasting, because the quality I see, it's still there. The Yusuf is changing, but the qualities are not. Right? His face is changing, but I still see the beauty, the way it is being created. At age, I don't know, 15, he says something. At that time, it sounds wise. At 30, he says completely different things, sometimes even contradict what he said at 15. But still, within this new context, it still sounds wise, let's say. So this quality is there, constant, behind this changing reality. Going with Suhail's example, the painting. If you are watching the painting being done in front of you, right? These brush strikes with dynamic, changing the color and so on, is changing constantly. But behind this changing reality that you observe, you will see that it's the same creator, same painter, same qualities manifested there. Right? So, go ahead, please. No, I'm done. Yeah.
I guess like what you were talking about reminded me of if you looked at a painting, for example, and I looked at it from the perspective of, oh, Zareen is such a great painter. It's easier for me to actually envy Zareen or like want to paint like her because I'm attributing everything to her. So I'm like, wow, what a great painter. If I work hard, I can also be in that same state. Like I start attributing everything to her, but also like that my own feelings are kind of put on her now. But I think when you look at it from the form of like, oh, her maker, but then I'm also made from that same maker. So there's this idea that I must also like look inward to kind of differentiate myself and also find, okay, clearly my maker just didn't leave me in this world. So there has to be something that I'm also meant to do in this world. So I think it kind of presents a different question than if I looked at Zareen as the painter and like start admiring her, because then she becomes kind of like my maker ultimately. So yeah.
So I guess one important maybe nuance with this example painter example is the idea that the painter is not the same kind of the painting. Sorry. So when you look at the painting, you cannot find the painter there. You can only see the qualities manifested. you take the painting of a Picasso, you're not holding the Picasso, you're just holding the artwork, but the qualities of the guy is in your hands, manifested, right? Not the quality in your hand, but its manifestation, the colors, or how the things are placed and so on. So the painter is not inside the painting. So the same thing when I look Zerrin or Yusuf or Adam, the maker, it's not there. It's not the same kind of this universe, right? But what I see is the manifestations of his qualities. So for instance, I don't see his wisdom. I see whatever it is, when I say his wisdom, I see its manifestation in this world. Zaratu making a wise comment is a manifestation of a wise creator. Or Alparslan makes a silly comment, and my desire for hearing a wise comment is the manifestation of the wisdom of the creator. That when I see a silly thing, when I hear a silly thing, there's the feeling in me saying that this is not what it's supposed to be, right? So this tension that I feel is the manifestation of a wise maker. Sorry, just look at Arslan. Yes, I was talking to a friend Alparslan just yesterday. Sorry, Arslan. I was not talking about you when I said silly comment, right? I was talking about this friend called Alparslan. So anyway, this is what I understand. And he kind of saying that, going back to your question, maybe he's saying that if you love the painting, you can try to hold it for a moment. But after a moment, it starts decaying. I don't know, what is the lifespan of a painting? Maybe a few centuries, more than a few centuries, but still has a lifespan, right? And then something happens to this painting. It's, I don't know, stolen or burned, whatever. And you feel desperate. But if you love instead, within this very simple example, I mean, it doesn't mean loving the painter, but if your love directed towards the qualities that you see there, right? The color choice or the placement of the objects and so on and so forth, then even if something happens to this painting, you know that these qualities still there somewhere, and I can experience the same thing. So you don't worry about it anymore. So this is what I understand from like illicit love versus licit love. It's not about, you should love this and shouldn't love this, but rather, if you love the painting itself, the physical object, your mom, let's be a little bit rude, if you don't mind. If you love your mom, if I love my mom, okay, mothers are sensitive. So we cannot give somebody else's mom as an example. My mom. If I love my mom, and when I say I love my mom, I mean this physical thing. And every year I visit Turkey for summer, let's say vacation, this physical thing getting older and older. And she's starting, I don't know, I'm just making up, but, forgetting things. And then she's not as active as before. She's not as, I don't know, funny as before, let's say. Cannot make these witty comments anymore. So what's going on there? Like, I'm losing something. If this is what I love, I'm losing something. And when I extrapolate it, I know that she will disappear. And when I say disappear, I'm being, nice. you know what happens to body when they die. So this is the reality of the pain thing. It will go away. So if I love this, then I already made myself, I already start torturing myself. Because every moment I know that she will come. But when I say I love my mom, if I mean I love the mercy, I love the compassion that I meant the observe there, the experience there. I love the wisdom. I love these funny comments, whatever. The qualities manifested there. And when I realize that all these qualities don't belong to my mom, actually, because my mom, just like anybody else, like Yusuf, I mean, there's no difference between between my mom and Yusuf, right? When you think about it from a biological perspective. I mean, let's give another example. Let's say Zerin and my mom, okay? Because I said biological, yeah. I don't like. There's no difference from the physical perspective. But I don't see these same qualities there. But I see in my mom. So what is it that, what is the source of these qualities? I ask the question. And when I realize they are the qualities of the maker. And this maker cannot be in the same kind, cannot be the same kind of this universe, this creation, the painting. When I realize this is an absolute maker, now whatever I love is in safe hands. Because even the mirror of my mom is broken and I'm deprived of her. I know that these qualities are still there in the maker. Yeah, please.
Can we also give, I guess, a similar example for when the qualities are not really what's considered a quality? Let's say it's actually not admirable. Like, you're like talking to somebody and you're like, wow, that was horrible. Like, this person is just not what I was thinking is kind. Then I definitely attribute that also to the person usually. But if we take the same guideline of what we just talked about, then who does that get attributed to and how does that get interpreted? Especially in the way we're talking right now in forms of we're looking at the maker, not necessarily the person. So yeah.
Alhamdulillah, great question. There's some ideas in my mind, but I talk too much. So who wants to take this question? So we're talking about these good qualities and saying that the maker has these good qualities. What happens when we see bad qualities? So you're talking to me and, unbearable person, and how you say the same thing, that his maker is wise and so on. Or do you say this? Maybe I was created by the unwise creator.
I think that is a valid question, but for the topic in here, I'm feeling like the problem is more in the case of, let's say, I mean, since I'm not rich of a person, but let's assume I was. But I guess to whatever extent everybody is rich relative to somebody that's poorer than you are. So if I am starting to live life as if, oh yeah, end of month, I will start getting this much money, 2 years, 3 years, I'll buy this house, 10 years, that car, like that type of planning. If I am having this type of planning in my head, what that means is, as we were discussing last week, as if death is not a thing for me, because I start enjoying life, I start getting attached to the world, Because this was like we attach to the sides of it that we love. The parts that we dislike, it's a valid question, but I think right now the major topic that's the author is addressing here is more like the things that I love, yet it looks like those things that I love are outliving me, at least on the surface. Let's say you buy some land stays there. And you would like to buy another land, and you would like to become Donald Trump, right? Real estate king. You have a lot of land. Land is not dying, apparently. Land stays land. And it makes you feel rich. It makes you feel strong. How come this love be converted to a true love? Because if it was love for your son will grow and will not be as cute. And then you will realize that, oh, I was not meant to love him that much. That love was there to direct me to a true love. So the first part of the question, when it is talking about this metaphorical love, passing love, it's easily understandable for changing things like your son, your mother, and whatnot. Because you do see them becoming not satiating you after some point, right? But how about the bigger world? Because there are things in the world for which still I keep loving. The more I get, the more I love. Let's say today we were talking about some professors, and the brother made a comment. I said, oh, he is old, he's about to retire. The student said, well, I don't think he is planning to retire. I said, well, this is generally how professors are. Professors never want to retire because they are useful and valuable whenever they are in academia. Once they retire, they become useless. And nobody wants to face this. And you would like to stay as long as you can, as if you will never die. You would like to publish more papers so that you will start feeling still important, more important and whatnot. So the question here is, how can I convert that love to, let's say, my citation count or number of papers that I publish into a true love? Because that's something desirable for me and it's not decaying, it's growing, right? On the surface, at least, it seems to be. But at that point, if after the checkup, doctor says, well, we need to talk. Like you go to your regular checkup, and when you're going to hear back from the doctor says, well, we need to talk. They didn't report, oh, you're perfect. They said, we need to talk. Then all those publications, all those citation counts and everything becomes nothing all of a sudden for you because doctor says you have 3 months, you are dying. So the thing that I used to love as if I will never die now becomes zero and meaningless, totally meaningless for me. Because I thought the outside world was my world, but my world was just a reflection of what is happening out there. I confused the two, started thinking that, yeah, actually that land I bought is mine, part of me. No, it's just your relation of that land to you is a simple paper on which the owner is Yusuf, it says. But once you die, land stays there. They just, what's it? Underscore, no. Strike through your name, write somebody else's name. That same land becomes that somebody else's. So,
Imams from Al Jamia.
okay, don't get there.
Die, your house will become somebody else's house.
So,
Your father's one.
so that reality is, I think in here the question is, how can we now generalize it? Because there are things that I love, but how can I convert my love to them to a proper love?
Jazakallah khairan. I intentionally put the emphasis on something tangential to the main topic, which is when author says one of the phase looks at the divine names. Although the text is not about that, so I wanted to expand it a little bit. So that's the reason Darartu was talking about this question. But yeah, you are right. Like the let's say the summary of this text is what you gave. But yeah, I intentionally did this. We don't have to stay there, but I think we should understand this, how things look at their maker's part a little bit, maybe more. So I to take the responsibility. There's a question from Zarar. He says, a question about your example. How does Zerin not possessing the qualities that your mom does lead the conclusion that these are the qualities of the maker? So it was not the perfect example, but the idea is like when I look at my mom, just the mom itself is a biological entity, a physical, biological, chemical, whatever entity. And I was trying to say that, just this biological entity cannot be the source of these qualities I see, because I see another, the very similar biological entity. I don't see these qualities there. Another maybe example would be a person before becoming, like with ladies, you can argue about some biological change, but with gentlemen, before I become like Birkan before being father, Birkan after being father, completely two different people, completely. Like the qualities I have on me right now are completely different than the qualities I had before fatherhood. And nothing changed biologically, at least for me. And this reality tells that, at least it's just one, the glimpse of evidence that these qualities are not from me. That was the idea. But going back to maybe the Zarartu's question, so with all these examples, one mistake we do, and when I say mistake, I'm talking about myself, not you, that we represent these examples kind of in isolation. Like we talk about a good painting and then some good qualities and so on and so forth. But things become meaningful when you put yourself into equation as well. So when I say, for instance, good painting, I mean I see something that I like, right? So when I talk to my mom, for instance, I say the compassion is a good quality because I like it. So I should also consider this. So I seek some qualities that I like. And sometimes I look at other people and I see some qualities that I don't like. As if, there are some qualities that attracts, there are some qualities that, what is the opposite? Repels. When I think this way, I say, okay, whoever is making this in front of me and whoever is creating these feelings as well simultaneously, he is telling me that he likes, let's say, compassion, or he's the compassionate one, because he also creates this attraction in me. When I interact with someone that I don't like, he also creates this dissatisfaction in me. So I should also, take into account such feelings, everything around me. The universe as a whole tells me something about its maker. So when you see, for instance, unjust act, you say that whoever is creating this experience as a whole, who also creates this dissatisfaction in me, must be the just one. Because he wants me to go away from this injustice. Or he wants me to correct it, let's say, quote unquote. So he must be the just one. This is how I understand at least. Oh, please.
I have a question on that. So, if we're reading the experience, the reactions that we have to seeing someone we like versus dislike, or qualities we like versus dislike, I understand that we shouldn't be confusing. I guess I'm trying to see how can we evaluate when the reactions I'm having, like what Dorothy was saying, are the ones that are because it is created by the creator, but are they the appropriate ones to have to certain qualities? Like, or is it how do we differentiate between, like, this is here because I am looking at the bigger room, the outside world through this, versus I'm kind of stuck in my own mirror or lens that I'm looking at the world through. And like, how do we catch deficiencies in the mirror or the lens that we have? And not confuse it with, okay, I'm experiencing this because I'm supposed to be experiencing it. It's part of the outside world. I'm not sure.
No, I think question is.
Does that make sense? Like, how do we, can we catch ourselves when we have deficiencies in our mirror or in our lens? Where we're feeling hatred towards something, for example, but it's not supposed to, it's in the outside world, or it's actually a good quality, and there is a lot of meaning to it. There's a lot of opportunity to learn about the creator, read his attributes through it, but I have a deficiency in my lens that I fail to see that. Is it possible that we can catch ourselves? But because failing to see it, isn't that also created in me by the same creator?
I think for this one, I think this is still the conversation going on with the other side of it. So, first I'll try to understand what I understand from the question. So, let's say Atik makes a comment. Okay, Ali, come here, Ali. Don't disturb people. Okay, so okay, so let's say Atik makes a comment, and maybe he meant something good with the comment, but I misinterpreted it, right? And I got offended from Atik's nice, beautiful comment. So what did Atik meant? What did I get out of this, right? So how would I know what he really actually meant? I guess at best I can go and ask Atik, saying that, look, what you said disturbed me. Is this what you meant? So now the creator is creating something, and I'm interpreting in a way. So now the question is, as I am hearing, how do I know this is what is meant by the creator? Is this am I understanding right?
But if we know that everything is meant by the creator. Yeah, it's similar. Like, if we know everything is meant by the creator, if my understanding is deficient, I can't catch myself, right? If my approach to evaluating it is itself deficient.
Yeah. So multiple things in there. First of all, we are talking about the creator, the absolute truth, absolute knowledge, absolute wisdom. So there is no meaning that you can say, oh yeah, whatever, and in its entirety, what God meant, I got it. This is by definition wrong, right? Is it possible? Let's say you read, let's take even a simpler example. There's one verse written in there. Verse is written there. Can anybody at any point claim that I understood every different potential meaning that's meant by the creator of this verse? If you can say so, then that means it's not speech of God, because it becomes a limited thing, right? So no matter what, humans' understanding is going to be deficient and limited. So a more relevant question is, there's a meaning that I am meant to understand from this verse. Is my understanding proper of an understanding, right? Because you cannot know, by definition, you cannot understand everything and whatnot, right? So then how do I know if what I understood is proper? So in this case, then I need to know my limitations. First, I cannot know unless my maker makes me know that I am wrong. But do I admit that? Or I am thinking that, no, I will figure out myself if what I am understanding is right or wrong. Human admitting this neediness, even when it comes to understanding truth, identifying truth, saying that, oh, my creator, I am trying to find you. A few weeks ago, we were reading the person who was thrown into this well, 60 yards deep well. You remember? So running in the desert.
During the retreat.
It was not a retreat. It was, retreat preparation phase. Yes.
Yes.
So jumps into a well, hangs into a tree. So what was he saying at this moment? He was realizing that something is going weird here, but he was not able to find what is going on. Then he said, oh, the owner of all these things, there must be an owner. I want to find you. I am seeking you. Let me find you. Then he says the truth get unveiled to him. So taking that stand of saying that I am trying to find my creator, and let's even go with a simple example of verses. Quranic verses are there, or sometimes a success is there, sometimes the failure is there in life. A success is a verse, failure is a verse, a sign of the creator, like that written verse of the creator, right? So what am I supposed to understand this from here? Yeah, you gave me qualities, my creator. Let's say I learned reading Arabic. Somewhat I make some sense of this verse, but I'm not 100% sure if what I understood is what I'm supposed to understand. First check, am I admitting that I am not able to even judge this? And I am in need of your guidance, oh my creator. First, admitting this, even in the sense of understanding, I am in need of you, your guidance. If I am truly at this internal conviction, then the second thing comes. Oh my creator, I'm expecting you to guide me through my feelings, but also human messengers. Then I will try to get in a way that I can start asking. I will then come and ask Birkan, come and ask you, this is what I understand. Do you think, does it sound correct? And if you say, no, it doesn't sound correct, I'm not going to become defensive, but I will try to understand where you are coming from. Because now I'm not taking it as a personal ego war sort of a thing, but it would be more so that I'm trying to find guidance. So that humble state in itself is asking for guidance. And I don't think, at least as far as I can understand, there's no other way I can get out of that. But being in that mindset to be humble enough to ask from the creator and from the messengers and students of messengers to say that this is what I think this sign means. Does it sound correct to you as well?
Jazakallah. Anyone else? Fahim, you are making moves now. Alhamdulillah. So and things like we shouldn't also forget that things get really convoluted and confusing when we talk about the humans, our feelings, the other people's intentions and so on and so forth. I guess the starting point should be relatively easier things. Like when I look around, whatever I see, I look at a phone or a tree or a chair. Do I really understand that it has different faces and one of them is really talking about its maker? And when I say maker, I'm not now talking about the metaphorical, like this engineer or whatever. I'm talking about the maker of this universe. Does really do really things manifest or shout these qualities, these names of their makers? I guess that's the question. And then once we understand this properly, then we see that I can apply the same thing to other people as well, to myself as well. But first, I guess the starting point is laptop talking about its maker. This is a face of it. And now maybe tying back to our text to please this gentleman, otherwise he will have a heart attack. Why they are talking about this, the irrelevant stuff. So how this face, which is about the divine names, let's take divine names as qualities of their makers, of their maker. How, when my love is directed towards this face, why author is calling it as the true love versus my love directed towards the object itself as an illicit love. So if I love this person, it's an illicit love, not in that sense. But if I see these qualities manifested in him and I love them, this is illicit love. How? What do you understand? Be thankful I didn't tell them the story about our signing a document. Please.
Well, I think the difference is that loving the person, like whether, your wife or your kid or whatever, loving them for themselves mean you would believe then the qualities are also their qualities. So, and the moment they will go away, like the individuals, their qualities, these qualities will also go with them. And so this is the metaphorical or the majazi, lashq al-majazi. So, and then the moment you realize that these qualities are not owned by them and are not created by them, so this is something more everlasting and it's coming from somewhere else, it has a different creator. So your love also be like your love becomes more so now attached to something more eternal. And you would also know that the moment they leave, the qualities themselves, I mean, they can, I would say, manifest maybe in someone else too. So it's still a tragedy, but it's not like as if you cannot love anything anymore. So you are not able to love anything anymore. So you're still like because this love that is coming from you as well is also coming from, something is also eternal, is created by something else, and it should be directed towards something that is also eternal. Otherwise, it will be more like kind of like a waste of love or something like that. That's how I would understand it.
Alhamdulillah. One of my teachers, we were talking about a sick person, and then he told me, I really like the way he put it. He said, you should visit sick people, right? It's part of Sunnah. Because he said, at least one reason, if the person take your visit in the name of God, he will look at you and say that the creator of health is still alive because I see a healthy being there. So maybe it's not manifested here in me, but it's there. I see it. So I don't have anything to be worried about. When I'm ready, or if I need it, he will continue manifesting the health in me as well. So by being there, a healthy person, you are, showing him that your creator, the creator of health, is alive. So that what you said is reminded me that, yeah.
I just want to add one thing, that loving the qualities of a person does not undermine like the person himself or herself, but actually elevates them, because you would think that God chose these people to manifest his qualities in them. So, I would assume that it's the case.
So
But I don't
the
know.
choice is, at least to me, it sounds a little bit still trying to value something in it. Like, if I was not worthy of it, God wouldn't give me this wisdom, kind of. And author says, I was thinking this way. My ego, like I said, all these things are from the creator. He's talking to himself. Why you are, boastful? Everything is from the creator. And then the ego, the soul says, oh yeah, that's true, but he chose you. You must have something, right? And then he says, then I slapped my soul by saying that he gave you all these because you were the most needy one of these qualities. So anyway, so this choice, because we use it in like in sense, we are Muslim because God chose us to be, us to be Muslim. So we should be proud of ourselves. And we don't say ourselves, but this is what it means. So I heard this from one of, what is this big conferences we have in America? All these, the conventions, yeah. One of these conventions, the speaker was saying this, yeah. Don't forget that you are chosen to be Muslim and so on. Anyway, Maria. So then making connection with what Yusuf said at the beginning, attachment. Because the love comes with the attachment. When you attach to this worldly thing and it's fleeting, it like a equation is so simple. It's the pain, right? But when you attach to this everlasting thing, then it's something that you can hold. And then author says, we do this mistake of assuming sometimes the thing in this world being everlasting. And then comes this mirror example and so on. Please.
So today we were not thinking, I was not thinking about this verse here, but at Drexel we were studying the topic of tazkiyah, and that verse showed up in that context. So the way we were studying the verse was, Nursi talks about 4 steps, in a sense, summarizing his path, his way of saying how to like find truth and whatnot. This is the second verse that he is quoting as one of the major steps to take. That verse in this sense is interesting. They forget Allah, therefore Allah make them forget themselves. And now here, this is being mentioned in the context of worldly, love of worldly life. So, so that's interesting in this sense. If we go back to the verse, they forget Allah, and for the past 2-3 weeks we have been talking about the aspects of world. So forgetting Allah means, like, how do I know Allah? Like, because initially baby knows milk, baby knows water. Like in the baby's world, there's no Allah yet. What we get to know is what we experience. But through what we experience, we get to find that there must be a maker, there must be a creator, there must be a merciful one, right? So through this existence, I get to know the maker, the creator, the merciful one. But if I forget the creator, because the whole universe is pointing to him, saying that there's a maker of me, then there is an immediate punishment that's following up. Creator makes me follow myself. This is forget myself. That's interesting. What does it mean to forget myself? Because generally, we will feel like if the verse doesn't say this, and if I were to ask all of you, if a person forgets God, what happens to that person? I would say the person becomes the most arrogant, or becomes just obsessed with himself, herself, becomes too egotistical, right? But the verse is saying that he forgets himself. So what sort of forgetting is happening in here? Forgetting my reality. I forget that I am dying, and I feel like as if the world outside, which seems to be stable, because those mountains, this planet has been out there like this for billions of years. So I feel like as if I'm going to live as long. That is being my punishment. And why is it the punishment? Because of the feeling that it stays there, it's not going anywhere. I get attached to it, but I am dying. So every moment is becoming a torment to me. And this is an immediate punishment while I am still on this earth for forgetting the creator. So if I were to remember the creator, then I would start saying that, no, the world is not for itself. It's actually pointing to someone. Then I will realize, oh, me likewise am pointing to him. I do not exist by myself either. Then the whole problem starts getting resolved. So, and this is where the question started from. How do I convert this love to this world into finding the creator? So if we read it from reverse, the author is saying that if you are loving the world itself, double check whether it is because you forget the creator and therefore you forgot your reality, your own reality, that you're a mortal being, you're dying, you're getting old, and you just started forgetting about your life. And then, oh, did Eagles won today? Or what's going to happen by the end of the season? And how is the Bitcoin prices going? Real estate market is, all sorts of things that we know so well. I get drowned in them. And this is just becoming the immediate punishment. You don't want to, because it comes to a point that in my life, I feel like I'm wasting my life with them. But the more I try to dislike them, I get more addicted to them. Like I start watching more of news. I know it, like 2 hours passes, it doesn't give me anything other than grief, especially nowadays. But I have an urge to just watch more because you get into this infinite loop and it doesn't take you anywhere. Your life gets consumed by that. And this is a punishment of forgetting the creator. So how to reverse it? Yeah, the author was saying that make the distinction what is your life. You're just a mirror. The life is out there. And if your mirror gets a little shaken with a disease and whatnot, you will realize your reality, the reality of yourself that you forgot. You're a vulnerable creature, needy creature, and you're bound to die. So why are you getting attached to this outside world, which is not part of your reality?
And it seems all these discussions boils down to one thing, which is the transient and fleeting nature of this universe. Because going back to Zara's question, like I know that there must be a maker, which is not of these, the kind of this universe. And there's this face, looks at his qualities, his names, by the fact that everything's changing constantly. So whatever quality I see out there cannot belong to them because they're changing constantly. They cannot even sustain themselves. By seeing that there's the wise guy I used to admire become a silly person, I know that this wisdom never belonged to him. So this fleeting nature of reality make me realize that there must be a maker. The same way, when I realize that I am fleeting as well, right? Then I know my reality. Then I don't forget the creator. So with these mirror stuff, Yusuf already said that, but maybe just to highlight, I think the emphasis there is, as we said, like when we look at the world, it really seems from one aspect like a stable, steady, right? Especially certain things. Like if you are investing in, let's say, gold seems to be stable. It doesn't evaporate, right? And as you buy more and more gold or anything like gold in your life, you think your wealth is stable because this outside world seems to be stable. But your reality, your mirror, is so, the unstable. With a small touch, it can start shaking. You will die. You know that. It doesn't matter whether this earth will stay here for 3 billion years more. Doesn't matter because you can live at most 40 more years. So when you realize this, when you don't confuse your reality with this seemingly stable reality, when you realize everything is fleeting, then you can check your attachments. Then you will realize that what I used to attach is so transient, fleeting, will abandon me. Only with this realization, you can transform these, the illicit love. What was the word? Passing love to the true love. Any final comments? I guess we are just on time. Questions? Okay, let's stop here. Inshallah, I see that old friends became again friends. They're not enemies anymore. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.
جزاك الله خير. السلام عليكم.
Wa alaikum assalam. Inshallah, we expect more, even more contributions to Hail next week. Jazakallah khairan.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.